Okay, it seems the right figures of authority are asking the right questions with the right clearance this time. But no need to flex, for my handlers anticipated this outcome with the recent agenda I was given and have left me with the vital highlights of the program that conditioned my skills that have been under the federal microscope lately. So I shall lay out what was left for me to divulge when the magic word was uttered by the right brass. From what I understand, they said this information was going to make some heavily influential people with authority angry, not at me per se but at them most likely, and I'll leave it at that. In the mid-90s there was an executive decision that cut the funding to some old-school, multi-divisional project headed under the main military-funded and sanctioned project codenamed Project Blue Book. In the many different funded sub-programs linked to this project was one that was exploring the viability of genetically advanced individuals who had undergone biological conditioning through methods of gene therapy to induce advancements in the pineal gland development in order to access the brain's dormant neurokinetic capabilities. This project was a typical black bag project under the military's Project Blue Book umbrella and held under a sister company to biotech pharmaceuticals known as C Corp. This project's lead goal was to research and observe the success ratio of the super soldier concept when the gene therapy process was applied to young children in the early stages of puberty to see if the biological conditioning effects would be suppressed if given to a child who is undergoing the early stages of maturity, since this age range seems to be the most biologically resilient stage in a human's lifespan. Mainly they were trying to bypass the problem that had canned the Super Soldier project at that time, being that of patients experiencing side effects of organ failure and overwhelming neurological damage that led to psychopathic tendencies and insanity due to the gene therapy conditioning. Then the project got canned and the funding for Project Blue Book got pulled in 1995. So the whole project was closed down. However, some of the scientists felt they were on the verge of success and did not want to abandon their research. They tried to continue their research off the record, and unsanctioned with me, but their activities were soon discovered, and since I had shown no positive reaction to the therapy at that time, they just abandoned the project altogether and wrote me off as unresponsive. I have not seen or heard from them until about 15 years ago. I have encountered the one attached to this project when I was a kid. He began the gene therapy before the project was defunded and continued to monitor and induce a breakthrough effect afterward. He constantly had to move his office to avoid being discovered, where we would have our private sessions of image tests. Usually those ESP testing cards were used, multiple layered of color scheme overlapping color scheme, where I would have to find the intended hidden image from the pattern that held many possible patterns within it. His notes said I had displayed the common development signs of electrical discharges of static self-generated energy and precognitive REM-induced dream states, but showed no signs of personalized neurokinetic possessed skills such, and summarized that the gene therapy must have advanced my pineal gland's development, but without the funded project's complete conditioning process my skills remained dormant and unresponsive. Well, further down the road, when I fell into my coma that awoke my past life recessive memories that often occurs in highly traumatic scenarios, such as cases of comatose victims and near-death experiences, it also awoke the dormant neurokinetic skills and bridged a permanent synaptic pathway to those areas of my brain that make those kinetic skills possible and are still advancing and developing even to this day, unlocking other abilities they never seemed to have been aware of being possible. Such as this, for example, I can build up a kinetic generated charge in my hands, and if I regulate the discharge to its slightest possible frequency, I can view an image using radar signal bouncing concepts and see the internal biological processes like a walking X-ray machine, and see exactly where and what may be ruptured, internal bleeding, nerve-ending receivers that have become overloaded, and the effect that it causes we call Charlie horses. But the image is limited to about a 2-foot radius that begins in the tips of my fingers. So anything I touch with my fingertips I can deep tissue scan and see, I think even better than an MRI image can. I've used and tested this skill on 5 different people and was able to pinpoint with total accuracy what their internal problem was and what even their doctors were unaware of that was causing their problem. All 5 subjects were a success, not including myself as well soon afterward. Now I'm sure those brass browbeater are probably still upset at his breach of protocol as he said they would be, but the implications of the success of his research are undeniable, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to all this and this conversation would not be happening. You'd probably be at home dusting off and admiring your model car collection like you usually do in your free time. Yes, I'm speaking to one particular brass general whom I know will be watching this video one day. Keen precognitive skills, do you still doubt his success now, General? That's all I'm divulging about this, for I also know of the one who will be watching this looking for opportunities to acquire methods of terror for his agenda. So for you I leave nothing but this: in a few days after watching this you will be held by Interpol for questioning. While you're there, be sure to remember this American by kissing my cousin's ass when you meet him. It's an English-British joke, cause the lead Interpol agent will be a British guy. And to you Mr. Bad Guy, I simply warn you to forget you ever watched this video.
Neuralink fiber wire signal terminated.